Hey guys, Jessica here, and welcome back to another Kindred Stamps design team video. For this one, we are introducing the April release for 2019, and I got to play with the Peace and Love stamp set. And this one is really fun. So for this card, I thought I would use the retro van. I really do love this image, and I love all the details in it. So I thought it would be fun to color it using Prismacolor pencils and Gamsol. I haven't done this technique in quite some time, but it wasn't too hard to get back into the groove of it. I'm going to stamp this several times with a Gina K amalgam ink. I am stamping on Canson watercolor paper, so even by using my stamp platform, it does take a little bit of pressure to get a nice crisp image because of all that texture in the Canson watercolor paper. The amalgam ink is really great because it is actually advertised as Gamsol safe, so it did work great, and I didn't have any of that black ink smearing that sometimes if you use the wrong black ink it can cause that. I know there are several inks out there that are great for Gamsol. I'm going to kind of start out like I do with Copic coloring and use this burnt orange color in all of the shadowy areas, and then I'll blend out with the Gamsol from there. I've really been obsessed with this burnt orange color for some reason. I do this a lot. I kind of tend to grab a color combination that I like, and then I make several different cards kind of using the same color combination. I just get inspired by it. So I have this Gamsol, and I'm going to pour a little bit of it into this plastic cup that I have. These are like for watercoloring. I use them for everything, holding die cuts. They're just great little containers. So once I have enough coverage using this burnt orange color, I'm going to dip my blending stump. And this is just like a really solid rolled up piece of paper. You can use these for multiple applications of making art. So they're not only great for Gamsol, but they're great for like charcoals and stuff too. So you just dip that tip of the blending stump into the Gamsol, and then it soaks up that liquid, and then you can blend out your colors. I went a little heavy-handed on that burnt orange, so there isn't a whole lot of transition in the colors as far as a lot of different shading. You can see it right around the love there, just how much you can blend it out. And I'm just going to go through the whole thing and then let that dry. It's very quick. It dries very, very, very quickly. And I'm going to add some color to the tires just using a warm gray colored pencil. I'll have the list of Prismacolor pencils that I used down below. For around the edges, I've kind of figured that this would be like a chrome color, and I used the silver Prismacolor pencil, but it did, after blending it out with the Gamsol, it did leave a lot of sparkle everywhere, so the sparkle just kind of swept away. That was kind of pointless, but I'm going to kind of clean that up a little bit later. I'm keeping the top of the van white, so I'm adding some very light warm gray color to it, and then blending out all the shadowy areas with the blending stump dipped in Gamsol. When I switch colors using that blending stump, I do just wipe it off on the top right hand corner there, and that's why you see all those smudges. You can also clean it up really well with like a piece of sandpaper, just sand off the color, and that'll give you that nice pointy shape too. But I wasn't really switching between a whole lot of colors, so I didn't really have to do that a whole lot. A lot of these smaller areas I'm not even going to blend out because they're so tiny. So I'm going to fussy cut this out real quick just using my Fiskars scissors, and I'm cutting right up to that black edge. And you could leave the windows to the van how they are, but I wanted to see through them, so I'm going to use a craft knife. This is a Tim Holtz craft knife, and I'm just going to cut out the windows. And just to clean up those edges, I'm also going to ink them with a Memento black pen. That is what I do with basically anything that I fussy cut or cut out with a craft knife. It just gives it a cleaner look. Alright, so moving on to the rest of the card. I am going to finish that van up a little bit later with the vellum behind it, but I wanted to do some die cutting with this die that I have. This is a paper tray ink die, and I cut out 5 different colors of cardstock using those 5 different dies. For the middle piece, I used just Nina 110 pound cardstock. On the right, from the lightest blue to the darker, I used the Hawaiian Shores and Tropical Teal. And then on the other side, on the left, I used Summer, Sunrise, and Canyon Clay. And I'm just using an ATG gun to adhere those to that dark gray cardstock. For the sentiment, I'm going to stamp it on this scrap piece of black cardstock. Since I'm going to be making this a birthday card, you can never have enough birthday cards in your stash. So I'm going to be using the birthday sentiment from the Peace and Love stamp set. And it just says, "Have a dope birthday," which just makes me laugh. I think that's a really funny sentiment and works well with this retro van. So I'm stamping that onto some ultra black cardstock from Paper Presentation and using some clear ink from Simon Says Stamp. To heat emboss it, I'm going to use some glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. Just be very careful about heating this one because it is kind of hard to see when it actually melts, and you can get some really crazy bubbles. I started to get a few and I just stopped heating it and it was fine. So it's just one of those embossing powders that's a little harder to see when it's melting. I love that you can see and read the sentiment very clearly, which is just a fun technique. It makes this kind of an interactive card, which is just really fun. Did anybody else have all those glow-in-the-dark stars all over the room when they were a kid? I had a ton everywhere. I was obsessed with them. So this really makes me think of that. So for the van, after I adhered the vellum to the backside, I am going to use that Versamark pen. It's just like the clear ink that I use for embossing, but it's in a pen form. And I'm going to color in the headlight portions and that peace sign, and then use the glow-in-the-dark embossing powder over the top of those. That way those elements glow also. My camera did shut off at this point and I didn't realize. So you don't actually get to see the coloring with the Versamark pen or the heat embossing of those smaller details of the van. So I cut down that panel with the retro stripes and I adhered it to a Nina 110 pound solar white card base. And then I attached the van to the kind of the middle portion. And then I'm gonna pop up the sentiment once I figure out where I wanna put it. And I'm using some foam adhesive squares to pop that up. I probably used a little too many there, but that is okay. Using my tweezers really helps to make this super easy to get that backing paper off so I can stick it onto the card just below the van. This Peace and Love set from Kindred Stamps is just a fun set to play with, and I didn't even get to the 2 characters or most of the sentiments. There's just so much that you could mix and match with this set. Don't forget to stick around for a few pictures, especially the one showing off that glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. And that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Meh, meh.